What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man cartoon from Disney Plus. This newest version of animated Spider-Man is inspired by the Steve Ditko art style and then kind of combined with the MCU Spider-Man or certain parts of him, which is very, very clear and makes a lot more sense when you learn that Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it was originally supposed to be a prequel show for him, freshman year, but then ended up becoming its own thing. Uh, in the art style, while I definitely think it's a great, great translation of that Ditko art style onto the screen, there's still moments where the movement, it just looks clunky, that kind of CG style. But overall, I was very, very impressed with the way they were able to make this show look and move once it was actually on the screen. So hats off to them for that. Now let's go over the characters. Obviously, you got Peter Parker, Spider Man, and I was actually really not thrown off, but I felt like it had a nice variety in his supporting cast this go around. You got Lonnie or Tombstone, which I thought was really cool having him in there. Nico, who's kind of whatever, not too bad, but didn't do too much to make me love them. Harry Osborn, of course. Norman Osborn is actually more of like a actual supporting character rather than ominous figure or clearly hinted at villain. Aunt May is in there very minorly, and then you also have some other very minor appearances from beloved characters like Dr. Connors, Doc Ock, a version of Venom, a weird version of Venom, and Doctor Strange. So overall, it felt like they had a nice variety of characters, super and non-super, and they also did a great job, I think, of introducing newer characters or putting characters we're familiar with in new situations to make them feel fresh. I am recording this later and inserting it in because I completely forgot about Pearl's character. She's Lonnie's girlfriend and apparently helped babysit Peter when he was younger. He has a crush on her, but she's dating Lonnie. And that's about all her character really is, so I'm not really surprised I forgot about her, but yeah, worth mentioning. Now to get into the story. The events of this show are put into motion after Doctor Strange randomly bursts out of a portal at Midtown High with an animalistic version of Venom. And after a bit of a struggle, they are able to close the portal, but not before a spider sneaks through and bites Peter, putting his origin story into effect. After passing out, we have a little bit of a time skip, and then before you know it, we're following him as he begins his Spider-Man journey with his homemade suit and all that good stuff. Quickly after this, he then gets an internship at Oscorp, which results in his identity being revealed to Norman Osborn. This ends up being essentially the plot of the show, with Spider-Man going around fighting crime, learning the ropes, learning what and who Spider-Man is, while having Norman Osborn and eventually Harry as support for him, using Oscorp and its vast resources to help support him and develop him new gear and a better suit. Overall, I think this is a fantastic start to a show, and they did a lot of great building for season two. The cast of characters is honestly one of the parts I'm most impressed with, just because they only had 10 episodes. And I feel that usually in the past, a show like this, they would have specific episodes to highlight one character and what's going on with them to kind of catch the audience up so that they can then use that character for whatever plot device they need them to. But this show did a pretty good job of keeping you up with them like throughout the show. Like it felt like you were getting small, like little scenes and stuff with each character almost. I mean, I can't remember exactly, but Lonnie is where this is highlighted the best because this is a completely disassociated plot point where Lonnie is on his own journey and goes through his own trials and tribulations, which eventually end up to him starting to become what we will eventually know to be Tombstone. And I think they did a good job at letting this character exist and just kind of grow. Where, like I said, usually in most cartoons similar to this back in the day, you'd get one episode where they tell you what happened. You don't get to witness it. They're letting you know what happened to this character because they kind of got to get you caught up to speed, and you don't have time to learn these things through their actions or through indirect dialogue. So they did a good job of making sure that all these characters really got their chance to shine without forcing it. And it definitely makes it feel like just a more natural story and build up, where a lot of hopefully these plot points will have payoffs in either the next season or even continue on the build up in the next season and have a season 3 payoff, because there is a confirmed season 3 for this show. But I was just very, very impressed. And this show is a cartoon for sure. And I think you could watch it with some of your kids, but it's not a kid's cartoon the way a lot of other Spider-Man shows have been. I mean, they are swearing. It's not heavy. I mean, you get an ass every now and then. And so that makes me want to think that it's not meant necessarily for children, or at least it's just not meant to be a vehicle for toys or something like that. Like, they are kind of just more focused on telling a story. And I think that's really cool. It really shows in the end product. Like, honestly, I was very, very surprised at the story and how mature it felt. I know that sounds a little odd, and it's definitely not going to feel like the most mature thing you've ever seen. But for a Spider-Man cartoon, it definitely felt like they were delving into some more deep topics, and I really enjoyed that. I think this show has a great momentum built up for itself, and hopefully we just get to see it continue to do well into season 2. Now to get into my overall likes. I like the story. The story was good. The story was very solid. It didn't do too much. Like, there wasn't any huge plot points that happened in this season, but it was only 10 episode first season, and it did so well in so many other categories, like building up characters and stuff like that, which gets me to my next like, the characters. I think this cast of characters is very different and very refreshing for Spider-Man. There's some new characters and there's some new takes on some older characters that we are familiar with. And then even like the Aunt May feeling exactly like Marissa Tomei's Aunt. I mean, I think it does a perfect blend of parts of Spider-Man we know and then changing it up on us. The character design changes specifically, I want to say, I didn't mind at all. I felt like they fit online, and everything online is exactly that. Online. I mean, it might feel like a bunch of people are dogpiling on it, but I feel like the overall consensus of the show is different. I mean, Harry and Dr. Connors are the huge ones that stand out with very drastic design changes, but I mean, it feels like they're right in place in the show, so there's really no issue with it. And lastly is the cliffhanger. They do leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I really, really, really am looking forward to how they come back to this. Although I did really, really love this show, there wasn't nothing I didn't dislike. The beginning of Lonnie's arc, I particularly just didn't really think made sense. He is like trying to get his brother out of this gang, so he joins the gang, and I'm just like, dude, like, go tell your parents. Your brother's like 12. Like, he's not gonna get in like real like call. I don't know. I just felt like there was a bunch of actual solutions that he could have used that didn't end up in him getting tied into this thing, which he claimed to not want to be a part of. But by the end of the show, he's Tombstone basically and running the gang. Well, that's whatever. Overall, pretty minor nitpick. The second of which I would say is honestly my biggest character cast problem, which is Nico. I just don't care about her, to be honest. Maybe other people do. Maybe she clicked for other people. To me, like, she's super sarcastic all the time and just doesn't really do much. And honestly, I probably would have just not minded her, like, take her or leave her. But what really pissed me off was when eventually she learns of Peter's identity and is like one of the not first people to learn it, so she loses it and is like mad at him. And so he's like apologizing and stuff, even though he's doing it to protect her. And then later on, you find out she's got some sort of magic power or something. It doesn't really delve too deep into it other than letting you know that she has it. And so she's lying to Peter about this the whole time. I mean, it doesn't. How long has she had that? You haven't said anything about that. But okay, whatever. Like I said, I don't really care about her too much. She's just kind of there. I wish she wasn't the best friend, but it is what it is. Hopefully they can turn that around. And honestly, that brings me to my last dislike, is his identity. I mean, it's a secret identity, and like almost immediately, it is no longer a secret, and that's always a plot point for Spider-Man. Like I get that, like his identity almost always gets eventually revealed, um, but it just felt like it was so immediate, and there was nothing to do with like him having to balance like his identity with his real life with people that don't know. Like he kind of does with Nico for a little bit, but then just tells her, and then like it never really comes up again, to be honest, other than him needing to get out of like I don't know, his internship or something real quick. There isn't any real like tension with people having upset feelings with him for missing out on real things. And that's a very, very real part of Spider-Man. And I especially think it's one that like he'd probably be struggling with a lot when he first starts. But maybe they go into that later on. You know, like I said, Aunt May was kind of a very minor overall character, it felt like. So maybe they do something with her later on. I don't know. But I just felt like everybody kind of knew about his identity almost immediately, or at least the people that mattered, that weren't just kind of off doing their own thing. And I don't know. Didn't love that personally. But like I said, overall, this was a fantastic show for me. I'm very, very excited to see what they do with the next season. Hopefully, maybe improve a little bit on some of that animation. I'm not hoping for too much, but whatever. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening to my app session. I appreciate it. Probably going to get like 5 views on this, but that's okay. So if you made it this far, I'm almost positive nobody did. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Subscribe if you're feeling, that generous. But honestly, I just kind of want some feedback for now. So thank you very much and have a good one.